Alright, so today we're going to be looking at Numa, arguably one of the easier zombies maps of all time. But also a map that added quite a lot of new stuff to the mode again, and also a lot of that stuff did kind of stick around and be changed over time. And it's a good map, I do like it. At first, honestly, I wasn't a big fan of it way back in World at War, but when you learn the map and you know what you're doing, and you kind of find a good flow and a good spot, it does get better. So what we'll do, as always, go over what the map added, what I feel about the map, what most people would consider the map to be like, and just go over my own thoughts at the end of the video. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so first of all, Numa was a lot more open than Toten and Barucht. Instead of being in a confined building, you were kind of in like this whole swamp facility, where there was like a main building, and then 4 outside areas with their own hub building, and some of those areas are quite big, and it was easier to kind of train zombies around. Which basically means if you're kind of new to the games, which from seeing comments on older zombies videos I've done recently, some of you probably are quite new, but training them is basically running around in circles, holding them all up, and then when all the zombies that can spawn on the map have spawned, you just kill them then, and then repeat, and it's really easy to get through waves. It's quite safe, especially if you're in a good spot, and Numa had many spots that were very good for training zombies around. Speaking of the outside areas, every outside area had a hub building, and what would happen the first time you opened it is one of the perks at random would spawn in there. So you could open this area that I'm in, the back building, and it could get Jug. Or maybe you wouldn't get Jug, you can get Speed Cola, and you'd open a different area and Jug would spawn there, and it was random every single match as well, which was very, very good. It did change up kind of where you had to be. So I think with that instance it was good. It did change up every match, and it did kind of manipulate where you feel like you had to play that was more safe because the perks were closer to you. On top of that, they added the dog rounds. Now, these are boss rounds. They are called boss rounds nowadays. And nowadays, it's all kinds of different things. But originally, it was just dogs. And what they would do, just a wave of like maybe 6 or 7 dogs. Very easy to kill. And beating those rounds gives you a max ammo. So every now and again, you get a bit of a break between all the hordes of zombies. And you get an easy round, get max ammo, reload your weapons, and then carry on again. And again, not every single map has those. But they are something that has sticked around for a long, long time. The biggest thing they added to Numa was the weapon I'm holding in the gameplay right now, and that is the Wunderwaffe. And that was added in Numa way back in World at War, and it was very, very strong in World at War. Again, like I mentioned, the waves in World at War were very, very small. It was 24 max, and pretty much 2 shots from this could just end a round immediately if you were training correctly. It was crazy. The gun doesn't appear in every single map ever, and to be honest, it did get changed over time. I do kind of agree with some people that say it's not as good as it used to be, but again, in World at War it was just so good, and having it was not essential, but it helped a lot, and it was very, very strong. On top of that, as you can see in the background, kind of near the gate there's that like trap there, and that is called the flogger. What it does is it is like 2 logs covered in spikes, and when you activate it, it starts spinning. You can go prone under it, and that is a strap people used to kind of get through rounds where you kind of like move back and forth underneath it so zombies run into it. And it's very, very strong as well. Traps, again, like I said in the Barucht video, they were something that sticks around for a long, long time, and are still in the games now, and very useful for when you're in high rounds and you have points to spend to just keep activating them. And the flogger was a fun one. It is quite funny to watch happen, and again, it was very helpful with the World at War because, again, short waves and free kills, basically. In terms of Numa's difficulty, like I said, a lot of people did say way back when it first came out that it was one of the easier maps ever made, and the high rounds for Numa are quite large compared to other maps in World at War. If you go look at leaderboards nowadays, most of it's probably hacked because that's just how the old games are nowadays, but most of the legit ones are surprisingly high, and it does make sense. Again, with the Wunderwaffe and the open spaces in Numa and World at War, it was very, very easy. I would say newer versions of Numa are harder, not necessarily really hard, but they're definitely harder, but mainly because there's more zombies per wave and stuff like that, but at the same time, the same old methods still work. You just have to kind of change what you're doing to kind of match the newer systems and the amount of zombies that spawn. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say massive things that are negative about the map, and it's surprising to kind of remember that it is one of the more modern remakes, because this map is in Call of Duty Vanguard, which people did not like the zombies in, and I kind of enjoyed it. I think it was kind of different, but it wasn't that original zombies feel. It was definitely a very, very different experience, but it did bring back Numa as a round-based map. And while I do agree that Vanguard does kind of suffer with the zombies content, I do believe that Numa might be the best map in that game, and it might be the best version of Numa for multiple reasons, but we'll look at that in the future, because it's quite a ways away from how I'm going to release these videos. But yeah, overall, Big fan of the map. Do like the kind of aesthetic of it as well. I do like the Japanese swamp kind of feel. It's very, very cool. It's very spooky. And I do prefer the spookier maps rather than like the over-the-top kind of bright maps, which there are a few of across all of Zombies, which are still good, but I just do prefer the darker tone. And yeah, I do think there's not much negative to say about it. The only thing I'll really say is if you get stuck in the swamp, you're probably going to die. But, you know, as long as you pay attention and you don't do that, you'll be fine. But yeah, thank you for coming by. Remember to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and leave your thoughts of Shin and Numa down in the comments below. We are going to do the Giant next, or Doris next, if you want to call it that. And then we'll move on to Black Ops 1, which definitely will be longer videos because there's a lot more complex systems in place in Black Ops 1. And then obviously we'll go from there. But thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.